Hello and welcome. I think we're back. And it's, I'm going to call it Thursday, just to be arbitrary. And I've got yet another life drawing. This is one I've already added some stuff to. I did that in class while other stuff was going on. And hi, Stellar. And so I didn't get very deep into it. I just, had the idea while I was sitting there and said, I gotta do that. So just going to go in and clarify some stuff. I like the idea of a doorway in the background. Sometimes, sometimes if I make the doorway big, it looks like it's right behind her, and then it's not big enough. Sharon says NSFP, not safe for prudes either. Yes, you're correct. Um, it's weird, you bring up an interesting discussion. Not that I wouldn't have brought it up myself, um, but you do bring up an interesting topic here. Um, I didn't finish what I was saying. Sometimes when you draw the doorway big, it looks like it's right directly behind her and therefore is too small. So if you want it to be a big doorway, you could have drawn it smaller to give the impression that it's further away and just big. Okay. Anyway, I posted early this morning a picture from some years ago. With the girl in life drawing class, and there's a gorilla who's up in her face and kind of pointing at her, and I thought it was funny, and the model thought it was hysterical, and um, she really liked my work. She owns several pieces that I've done. Um, Stuff like that too. I have that one, but she owns a few of my pieces, and she seems to like me just fine. And but I've got this whole other audience now. I've got all these people. Um, and if I just draw a piece of fantasy art, sometimes that's just fine. But if I mention that this happened in life drawing class, sometimes that triggers people. Various things trigger various people, but this particular group was about life drawing. So I posted it in there, and I said sometimes, I like to add stuff to my life drawings after, you know, afterwards. And for the most part, I had a good response to that. There were a lot of replies, and all of them were positive, except one. I know sometimes when I'm talking, it sounds almost like I just have a terrible time out there, getting beat up. And I don't mean to make it sound like that. And for the most part, if I was having a lousy time doing this, I would stop doing this. Um, but uh, but so for the most part, everything's nice. But this person had this response that I just thought was so strange, because they said something like etiquette requires that you ask permission before approaching the model, even if it's imaginary. And I don't know who this person is. I don't even know if they're male or female. Um, I don't know if they're a model, or if they. I assume they're either a model or they draw in life drawing, because they're in a life drawing group. Um, but it's like, what is your point? And what, don't give me a vagary like use common sense or use common courtesy, because I do. But it's like, what specifically? I would like to see. I would like to visualize the class. Okay, there's a model on a model stand in the middle of the room. There are people all around with their paper and with their easels. Okay, are you actually saying you want to speak up and say, "Excuse me, miss, is it okay if I approach you in my imagination?" I mean, are you really suggesting to me that I ask that question verbally out loud in a room full of people? Because I've never heard anybody say anything like that ever. And it would weird me out, actually, if I heard somebody say something like that. I'd be thinking, what are you saying? What are you trying to suggest here? And so I asked that. And then the person made what I thought was obviously a very snarky answer. Oh, you're confused, like, oh, you get confused a lot, something like that. So, well, yeah, I do get confused when people say confusing stuff. Um, and that was confusing to me. I don't know. I would really like to be able to pin that person down and say, tell me what it is you're actually saying. What are you actually saying? And I really don't know. And there's a good chance they don't know either. That's not my first assumption. When something like this has happened, I try to imagine what the person is talking about, and sometimes I succeed. Sometimes I like took something all wrong, and then when I thought about it some, I got somewhere else. I like flipped it upside down and went, oh, wait a minute, I'm looking at this all wrong. Now I understand. But I could not get there with this person. I don't know what they were saying. I remember one time I was on the old conceptart.org boards, um, which some of you may recall from the Middle Ages. And I was posting stuff, my best equivalent to what I'm doing now, which actually was not very good back then. I looked at some of the old stuff I posted then. It's like, oh my God, it's awful. But somebody replied one time, you need to do things with much thicker outlines. You need to put really thick outlines around your figures. And I was like, no. um, it's just like I was not taught to draw, with really thick outlines. But I went and had a look at his page, and all of his stuff has very, very thick outlines. It looks, he did like comic books with, um, if you can imagine a comic that somebody had done by painting graffiti on somebody on walls, so each panel was, um, it wasn't actually done that way, but it looked like it had been done that way. It was kind of the style. So it was like sequential graffiti, if you, okay. It was kind of interesting. It was actually kind of cool. Totally not my thing, and I don't have any desire in the world to draw that way. Obviously, though, if you could see the world through his eyes, that's how you draw. So I at least comprehend, where he's coming from. I'm not lost. Um, it's just, and that's fine with me. I don't need any more uh, than to know what he was saying, and then I can decide if I agree or I don't, which I didn't. But it's all right. I could still see that it wasn't, an attack on me or anything. It was just how he saw art. It's like, this is how you do it. So I tried to do that. I actually went. This person we're talking about, I went and looked at their Facebook page. Yeah, I couldn't tell anything apart from they are a bit of a social justice warrior, and that's one of those unfortunate phrases that should not be a pejorative. It should be a good thing. But every good thing turns into a bad thing if you're obnoxious with it, and there's a lot of people out there being obnoxious with it. Yeah, Sharon says that was so weirdly worded. Was the ape supposed to ask for permission? Um, Stellar says, I suspect that they meant if you were going to use a sketch that you did in live drawing session. It just jumped. I just scroll back to it. In this kind of secondary fashion, you should ask the model permission again because they might not like that image being used in that way. Thing is, they do not know that you didn't. Yeah, the poster doesn't know that I didn't ask. And yeah. And the English was awkward. Yeah. So I would. Yeah, they don't know how to speak English because I looked at their page and they're from England and they don't speak English there. So, oh, social justice warrior. I mean, that should not be a pejorative word, but uh, it's like if you're religious, I've got no problem with you being religious until your religion demands that you get in my face and tell me that I'm a sinner and I'm going to burn in hell and start micromanaging my life and telling me you should do this and you shouldn't do that and you got to stop doing that and you got to stop doing. Okay, and now I want you to get lost and you know there's a lot of people on your Facebook that are just like that with their causes, whatever those causes are, and and there is the assumption, just like what we were just saying, there is the assumption that you didn't ask, based on nothing at all other than um, I'm a righteous person. You're not me. You must be an unrighteous person. Therefore, I can safely assume that you didn't do whatever I think you should have done. Therefore, you didn't. And so, I gotta behave like that. Um, Sherry says kind of like vegans. Yeah, yes, vegans can be that. Sissy's very nice. We can be nice, sort of. I mean, not too nice. Um, but yeah, they can be like that. Anybody can be like that. Anybody that wants to tell you how to live your life, or to assume that you're the Antichrist just because they have a belief. It's just like there should be more to being the bad guy than just the fact that you've thought about something and decided that you have a conviction about something. That's good for you, but that's you. It's not me. So, if you believe in women's rights, well, you're my favorite person. But if you've decided that because I'm a boy, um, that I'm anti women's rights just by my nature, and therefore I need to be, you know, yelled at all the time because I'm a bad guy because I'm not a girl. Well, now you're my least favorite person, and yeah, it goes like that. So anyhow, that stuff happens. And the more stuff I put out, and the more places I put it out, the more I encounter things like that. And if I didn't want to ever deal with it, I would have to just stop playing this game. I don't want to stop playing this game. And right now, I'm not so busy that that I can't afford to go have a look. Now, the other day I was talking to a lady on a Zoom call, one of these sci-fi con things, and I said, "It's okay. I don't mind that you didn't reply to my friend request that I sent you 2 months ago." I said, "That's fine. I'm not hurt. My feelings aren't hurt. I was just being a jerk." She was like, "Oh, who? Wait a second." And she looked at my name and then went and looked in the list of people whose friend requests, she hasn't replied to, and then she went right ahead and accepted my friend request. And she said, "You got to understand, I get so many of these." And well, she's a famous person. I imagine she gets a tremendous number of friend requests, and I mean, even if a lot of them are legit, uh, a lot of them are bogus. I mean, we all get bogus ones, and you don't have to be special to get a bogus friend request. I get them all the time. It's so it's hard for normal people like us to know if you should accept that friend request or not, and you kind of got to go look it up, or try to figure out who they are, try to figure out what you've got in common, go have a look at their page or something. And I would imagine it wouldn't take much for if you got where you had like 5 of those a day, you could uh, you could be sick of that and just kind of go, yeah, I'm just going to ignore those from now on, until it's somebody that I know exactly who it is, and then I'll accept those. Um, uh, yeah, Sharon says, "Be a vegan, that's cool, but don't trash me because I'm not." Exactly. And so, in no no substant. I'm going to try a different word. No significant difference between that and my drawing. It's just like it was not necessary to come in and make that comment. There was nothing served. There was no. I don't think there is any such etiquette as the one that they were talking about, and even if there was, there was nothing to gain from this uh, thing that they said. So Sharon says, "Nice figure, by the way." I'm going to assume you're talking about her figure, not mine. And but thank you anyway. This girl was very, very cute. She posed for us once that I can recall. Maybe she did on another occasion when I wasn't there or something. But I only remember her coming in once. But I was talking to her afterwards. That's one of those violations of etiquette, by the way. A friend of mine found a thing online saying, these are the etiquettes of life drawing, and one of them was, don't ever talk to the model ever, period. Like, not during class, not after class, not ever. I don't know how you're supposed to hire models, but that was one of the things. Do not, under any circumstances, speak to the model. Period. And we always talk to the model. I mean, always. I would feel really freaky and weird if I did not speak to the model. If nobody spoke to the model, it would be odd. But I was talking to her afterwards, and I asked her, do you like modeling? You do this a lot or whatever. And she said, well, I want to, and in fact, I really want to be a photography model. Well, I know several photographers, so I got her email, and when I went home, I got the contact information for several photographers I knew, and sent that out um, to her, and contacted my photographer friends and said, I just gave your contact info to this person, so if you get um, a message from somebody, that's why, and she's really good and all that. So yeah, one of my friends wound up working with her, and said it was great. And that kind of networking, I think that's wonderful, and I was really, really pleased to have been in a position to do, because I can't give her anything. I've got, I come into life drawing class. That's it. My contribution to the fund is all she's going to get from me. And so I really was quite happy to have had a chance to get her in contact with some people that can give her the kind of work that she wants to do. And yeah, I've mentioned before that several of the models are, you know, they're amongst my better friends. Uh, Sharon and John have been here at New Year's, and we started having those pizza parties, and been a couple times at a pizza party. I looked around the room and I was like, oh, there's there's 5 people here that have modeled for us. So they're amongst my friends. And I would not have it any other way. So etiquette be damned. So I mentioned our New Year's pizza party. So that's very likely not happening this year. And so we were thinking we'll do the same thing we did on Thanksgiving, and um, we'll do a Zoom. We'll do a Zoom, and you can stand there in your kitchen and build your own pizza, and we'll stand there in our kitchen and build our own pizza. And we'll call it a party. It was it was more pleasant than, it wasn't as good as getting together with people, but it was a hell of a lot better than not seeing anybody for Thanksgiving, and so I would like to make a practice of that. I have comments. Stellar says rules were probably for a specific class, and there may have been good reasons for like past problems. That rule must come. Sharon says that rule must come from a more prudish era, and what Stellar said. And then Sharon said, I can see where some creepy student might have stepped over a line. Um, we've had one incident uh, where a girl, a model, didn't like the way somebody was looking at her, and I didn't see what it was that she saw, but she had been modeling for some time with no trouble, and then suddenly there was trouble. So I think I'm inclined to believe her. If there had ever been a problem with people being inappropriate, it would be a way to keep that from happening, I guess. Might be easier just to say, don't talk to the model. Maybe. Yes, Zoom pizza party. Heck, people can order a pizza and arrive during the Zoom and share their bought pizza too. Um, yeah. So I would really enjoy doing that, and maybe just for practice, we could do Zoom this Saturday night, and you know, just to stay in good form. Sometimes my vocabulary just escapes me. It just goes away. I know what I want to say. I know the concept of what I want to say. It's just a word. It just won't happen. Um, yeah, this girl was cute, and she was more than cute. She had a look about her that it's not something I often say about somebody walking around in modern clothing. She looked like a Victorian painting. Okay, she could just walk in the room wearing jeans and a t-shirt. She looks like a Victorian painting. She had this very, very pale skin, that kind of translucent looking skin, and this very delicate features. And she just quite by nature, even though she's never done this before, she struck poses. And one of one of my friends had taken a picture of her, and then they were scrolling through on their internet, and they found a William Bouguereau painting, and they were practically identical. From the angle, because she was from the angle she was looking at her, she was just like, "That's reminding me of something." So she took that photo, and she found this painting, and it looked like that girl could have posed for that painting 100 years earlier. It was really cool. Um, but yeah, she has that. She has this look. Um, Drawing this cat out of my just out of my mind, out of my imagination, and I have a feeling it's coming out looking like an imaginary cat. Sharon says, I've seen women who look like pre-Raphaelite models. That's interesting. One of the most common, one of the most oft used pre-Raphaelite models was William Morris's wife, and I used to know her name, but We haven't spoken in a long time, so I forgot. But yeah, William Morris's wife and his daughter. I think it was his. It was certainly her daughter. I think it was his daughter. Looks just like her when she grew up, and they both had the red hair and the kind of straight nose and the kind of strong featured, red wavy hair. And a bunch of people drew both of those women. So you'll see a lot of pre-Raphaelite paintings that look like they're pictures of the same girl, and they all. And uh, Dante Gabriel Rossetti was one of the pre-Raphaelites, and he drew them a lot. Those two women, and he eventually uh, he had become so obsessed with Morris's wife that William told him he couldn't come over anymore unless he was around. I guess he had. I guess he was in the habit of dropping in when William wasn't around, and he was like, "Yeah, you're not gonna be around my wife anymore." But those things happen. Speaking of creepy guys in your life drawing class, I don't think we had any creepy guys in our drawing class. Maybe a couple obnoxious guys. There's this one freak that keeps drawing people with gorillas and stuff like that. Got to do something without him. Anyways, I kind of like that. I could draw a background that's like really detailed, and um, one of the reasons I don't like that is because it's difficult to find a good place to stop. Um, if you start really picking in what it looks like around the edge of this doorway, then you start wanting to draw where the floor goes, meets the bottom of the wall, and what do the tiles look like, and do you have the right light source on the tiling, and then you have an entirely different flavor of picture. It starts to uh, not necessarily look photographic, but certainly I don't know. It just I don't like that kind of stuff. And so it's been about a half an hour, and I'm going to go ahead and stop. Thank you all for coming. Thank you all for putting up with my inappropriate life drawing uh, practices. I intend to keep doing it, and I'm getting a thicker skin. I had to have to say that that conversation from yesterday, just a year ago, would have had me more upset, and this time I'm not upset. I'm just baffled. Um, but it would have really actually had me upset a year ago, and so yeah, I guess I'm getting better. So um, other than that, um, I'm downloading all these videos so that I can keep them for prosperity, for my posterior. I can keep them for my posterior. And I'll be back tomorrow at 3. Have a good night, guys.